Hi, welcome to our AvePoint Governance Automation How-To series. In this video, we will look at how to create a site collection provisioning service request. Once logged into Governance Automation, click on Service. On this page, you'll see any existing service requests of all nature. For the benefit of this video, let's go ahead and create a new service request. Click on Create. SharePoint Governance is much more than simply a site provisioning service. As we can see here, Governance Automation offers a complete set of governance service request types. For this example, we will create a site collection provisioning service request by clicking on Create Site Collection. On this page, let's give this new service request a significant name. This will be exposed to end users. Provide also a description. Select the language this service request will be available in. So here we will select English. Select a service category. Keep in mind that you can also create your own service categories. We'll just go ahead and select provisioning here. For the service permission, we will leave the default, which enables every employee to use this service request. As a service contact, we'll select Julie. Typically, the service contact should be a business user who has ownership of this business process. So let's select Julie McCoy. As the administrator contact, this should be someone from the IT department. This user will actually be notified if this business process runs into an error. Let's type Rob and select Rob Barker. Let's move on to the next page. In the Web Applications and Managed Paths section, we determine where will these site collections be provisioned using this service request. In this example, we will select SharePoint 2016, a production farm. Then we will go ahead and select which web application we will use. So we'll select this one here. You can also determine which managed path will actually be used for provisioning sites under this service request. In this example, we'll select Sites and Teams. As the default selections, we need to provide which web application, in this case there's only one, and which managed path will be the default selection. We'll select Sites here. The following concept here determines how the above values will be selected during provisioning. Either the service will offer the end user the option to determine the managed path, or it will be forced by IT and show as read-only. For this example, we will set this so the end user can make the proper selection. Proper governance should also impose naming convention, as shown here for the site collection title validation. For this example, we will not use this feature. Next, we need to select the proper site collection policy among the existing ones. Let's view and select the bronze policy. Here you can scroll and take a look at all the different options and settings of the bronze policy. For this option, we will force this selection to business users and show as read-only. Notice that you can also hide this from the business user as well. Based on the SharePoint install language pack, select the choices given to the business user. And we will select English as the default language. A well-governed SharePoint environment should also include controlling which site collection templates, whether custom or out of the box, are identified as corporate standard and available for usage. For this example, we will choose the team site only and hide this selection from the business user. Let's go to the next page. On this page, you have all the necessary options to determine how will the SharePoint security schema be configured at provisioning time. You can create new groups, you can manage and view the existing groups, you can also determine to block some permission levels to be used during provisioning, such as full control. Let's keep this selection and move on to the next page. On this page, we determine the level of control needed for the site collection administrators and business contacts. For this example, we will select the primary and secondary site collection administrators and hide this selection from the business user. As a primary site collection contact, we will use one of the available wildcards, the service requester. For the secondary site collection contact, we will let the business user determine this user during provisioning. Let's move on to the next page. A well-governed SharePoint environment should avoid SharePoint sprawling and therefore impose SharePoint lifecycle management options. One option is to introduce site collection lease feature. For this example, we will have these site collections be available for a maximum of 6 months and enable a lease expiration warning 1 month before lease expiration. We will also set a mandatory approval process for this feature by selecting an approval process. For a maximum transparency and user adoption, we will select to install the Governance Automation app into every site collection provisioned by this service request. This will expose, through the site information card, policies and available service requests from within SharePoint. Therefore, no need to introduce a new web application to business users. Proper governance should also include site classification. Here, we propose the necessary metadata features for site collection classification. For example, perhaps we need to tie each site collection with a cost center. If so, select the proper metadata and add it to the list. The URL section lets you determine how will the site collection URL be defined. We will force this to use the site collection title. In this last page, we will determine if we need to use an approval process before the site collection provisioning. If so, select a valid approval process. Notice that you could also select an auto approval to avoid having an approval process at provisioning time. If you need to run some custom scripts, Governance Automation allows you to do so by selecting the appropriate step during provisioning to run the custom script as shown here. We have now completed our service request service type. We can now go ahead and save this. We can now click on the newly created service request to review the configuration. If satisfied, we can click on Activate. Let's go ahead and activate this. Here is our new site collection provisioning service request called Engagement Site, activated and therefore ready to be used by our end users.